So, when we started this MOOC, I promised you that it was going to be a practical MOOC. Nothing but the facts, all technique. But then, as I got going, we started talking about real and imaginary fears, and then there was this paradoxical ghost of fear which haunted us, and that led to a double paradox, which all of a sudden was a metaphysical struggle between the true self and the self dissolving into nothingness, into fear on stage. I think this abstraction is important, and I want to let you in on a secret. This MOOC is a story. It's a story about the self. It's a story that begins in this module with the self in fear, and it's a story that develops in the next with the self contained within a rigid formula, indeed kind of struggling to get out of that formula. And that formula is something that I promise helps, but also that contains us. And then in the last module, it's going to be the self larger than life, the self emerging out of that formula into something very magical, able to speak to people and call together community. And I think this story is important. And I'm going to let you in on a deeper secret. This MOOC is really a story about storytelling itself. Now, I could imagine a few people out there saying, come on, I just need to know how to deliver information in front of people. I just need to know how to tell people how to work the underseat life preserver, or how to load an M16, or how to fix a carburetor and program a fuel injector. I call that the instrumental approach to public speaking. And it's true that we stand before people to deliver content. But really, content can be delivered on a laminate card. We may need to convince people to invest in our business opportunity, but the real facts and figures can be delivered through email on a spreadsheet. You're there as a human being to tell a story. This leads us to Kuskin best practice number 2. Successful presentation is storytelling. And storytelling is important because storytelling is human. Let's think of the implications of this for a bit. What can we know about storytelling? Well, I think these are Kuskin best practices 3 to 5. Kuskin best practices 3. Stories have beginnings, middles, and endings, and often present a single main meaning. This is important because when we tell a story, there may be many different parts, but ultimately that story comes back to one central theme that communicates through all those parts. Kuskin best practices 4. Stories are always, in part, about the storyteller, or people want to see people. That's true. It's true in the sense that when you deliver content, you're on stage, you're part of the content, and people want to see people. Kuskin best practices 5. Stories are told, and great stories are performed. This is important because it suggests that you're not just part of the story. You've got to deliver that story. You've got to engage with it so that you make the story. In the next 2 videos, I'm going to go through these implications, these best practices, more slowly.